Monte Carlo on the ocean front. It's so gorgeous here. My God, it's so unusual because somebody told me actually the other day that Monte Carlo is only composed of condos. You can't have a house here. I mean, unless you're the prince. Yeah. So what people have done is actually the people with loads of money is that they actually live outside of Monaco, up on the hill in France. And yeah, to actually have a house, because you can't have a house in Monte Carlo. So it's all basically like apartments on the shore, which is really cool. And the vibe is, I was born and raised in Hawaii, so it's sort of the same nice, laid-back vibe. What's going to be nice for the female audience in season 2 is we're going to see a little bit more relationship stuff, which is nice, and I think people have been waiting for. Alex's future is unknown, which is nice, because it's always interesting when student decides they know more than teacher and is ready to go off on their own. That's going to be an interesting dynamic as well. Nikita's enemies have increased, her adversaries have increased for sure. We're going to be introducing a couple of new characters, bringing back some of the beloved guest stars, and one really sort of important element in season 2 that we've gotten away with in season 1 is not telling Nikita's backstory. And we really don't know anything about her, our hero, our main character. And we did that on purpose, and we kind of wanted to get into it in season 2. And what's going to be nice about season 2 is that the audience is going to be learning about Nikita's past with Nikita, because there's a lot about herself that she doesn't know, too. So that's going to be fun.
We're getting little prequels here and there.
We are, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
What do you know about her past? Do you even know?
I do.
Is this going to be news to you?
No.
You know.
I know, yeah.
And?
Very
What can you
excited.
spill? Come on,
What?
tell
No,
me
I'm
some
very
little
excited.
tidbits. She
Well-
was raised by wolves.
Did you?
Listen, I told you, Danny's a
Jesus.
friend of mine. I saw the script. I know this shit. Come on, girl.
Jesus, he's amazing. Well, I will say this. One of the questions that I've always posed to the writers, and one of the things that I've talked to them a lot about is why, and always why. That's the question I'm always posing with them. And so for Nikita, I mean, she was. We all know her past, and she was a troubled kid who committed a crime, which we don't even know what that was. Was on death row, got taken, obviously, and trained as an assassin. But there's this whole thing about, Nikita is the best that they've ever seen. And Vision has been existent for how long we don't know, but quite a long time. And my whole thing is, why her? Why is she the best? What is it about her that made her special? Why is she the best they've ever seen? Why has no one ever topped her? What's that about? And there's a reason, sure. We're going to explore that in season 2, which is going to be nice. We do stray away from the things that people think will happen. I mean, that's definitely something that we try to fight against.
I'm not even convinced she committed a crime. I'm convinced she was framed for this murder, and that's why she was on death row.
That's nice.
Do I have it all wrong?
Do you like that?
Revisionist history. I'm good at that.
Well, we have been back and forth about that, which is interesting, and the reason why she was taken and what she actually did to be in the position she's in. And I'm of the much more darker variety about actually what happened, and the writers always have to deal with the redemption issue for sure. And so, but I think it's not going to be what people expect. I mean, it is a play on what we know of the original character, the French film. It's a play on that, but the details are going to be very different. So it's so fun to play with this character, because we've started where the film left off, and so we have so many more avenues than we would if we were remaking Nikita. We're not remaking. It's different. This is the future of her, which is nice.
The show is not what people expect. I will have to say, this is the first time I've met you, but you've been on our show a couple of times recently. Mm-hmm. Grand Central Station. You're so fantastic. Somebody fainted behind you.
Oh, totally.
Remember?
Oh my God. Oh God. Yeah. I never forget that. That was absolutely, and I felt really awful. Sort of, we had to, because we were there to work. But the sort of
I thought you meant you had to feel awful.
No. Yeah, I had to feel awful. I didn't. But the guy sort of fainted,
Yes.
and then there was a whole thing. And the poor guy, he was a kid. He was like 13 or 14. And they were on a school trip, and they were Spanish sort of tourists. So excited to be in New York City, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was your host that was just so charming that he literally couldn't stand anymore. He fainted, but full on. I mean, the guy fell marble. Grand Central's all marble. I mean,
The sound haunts me to this day.
The
like
sound,
a
right?
falling from a 2-story
But then
building.
what was awful was that the show must go. I mean, he got taken away, remember? And he was okay. He said he was going to be okay, whatever. But and then we had to sort of finish the interview, which was awful, because we were all sort of jilted from that moment forward. We were kind of like, okay,
Hey, dude, it's a hockey game. Stretch her off. Let's go.
Well,
Drop the puck.
exactly. I know it was sweet, but your host was so sweet. He was very sort of like, I can't go on unless this guy's okay. And I was like, oh, thank God, because if he was one of those people who was like, all right, well, anyway, I would have just smacked him. And he wasn't, which was cool.
Well, I want to go back to what I was talking about, which is that the show is unexpected, but you are sort of unexpected. So this is the first time I've met you face to face. I've watched you many times. I've seen you on our show, people fainting in your wake. But if you catch a promo of the show, or if you see a billboard, or if you just maybe catch one episode, you have this impression of you as this austere and taut, badass bitch who you do not want to mess with. And yet,
Right.
oddly enough, Margaret Quigley,
Margaret.
rather lovely to me, rather feminine, such a nice young lady.
Achieved.
How are you pulling this off?
It's funny. You know, I feel like, can you imagine if I played this sort of like dark and dramatic character, and then you met me and I was like that same person, and
Even darker.
I'm even darker. How exhausting my life would be. Sleep, sort of 13 hours a day to deal with it all. I kind of love life. I've sort of always been had that grateful thing. I don't go to work or wake up or approach anything as something that's owed to me or something that I deserve. I think by rights everything that's given to us is a gift, and so it's kind of a daily thing for me. And so you'll always very, very rarely catch me on a bad day, if ever, because I don't. Even when days are bad, they're not that bad. So that's kind of where it all comes from.
I like that about you. I actually think that's sort of an occupational hazard, or whatever the opposite of hazard is, for anybody who grew up in Hawaii. People who grow up in Hawaii, they have that sort of lovely 1,000-yard stare. They just
It's
soak
funny.
it all in and nothing. They're just totally unflappable.
It's funny.
And I'm jealous and I hate you.
It's funny because I've been all over the world, and obviously they're in little pockets. I've met people from Hawaii, and it's so lovely because it's always that ray of light that comes out of the group, and it's like, hey, you're from Hawaii, I'm from Hawaii. And we grew up really fortunate in Hawaii, and what's funny is that we all know it. And it's a great place to be grounded. It's a great place to grow up. I mean, it wasn't something that it wasn't somewhere I wanted to stay because I needed a bit more excitement than that in my adult life. But how lucky to sort of really be surrounded by this growing up. That's a good thing, and I think we all, wherever we go, we kind of carry that with us. I'm a big animal rights activist, so I get to talk about my animal issues all the time now. And the difference between caring about that before and caring about it now is people actually listen to you now. Before it was just sort of like, oh, that's the crazy person that likes animals, and now it's sort of, I can talk about the issue and and have a platform, and that's freaking awesome. I mean, if anything, that's worth it.
All right, is it true that your dogs are also vegetarian?
No. In fact, my dogs eat raw, organic, like me.
How can you reconcile this?
Well, because my dogs, I have shepherd, big, so my dogs are killers. No, they're killers. I take them on hikes and they bring me things, and I'm like, Lord. So if my dogs, well, I mean, if it all ended,
they'd be brutally tormented by all the other dogs.
If it all ended tomorrow, my dogs had to live in the forest, they would survive. I mean, they're carnivores. I mean, I choose not to be a carnivore, but I don't think it should be a choice for them. I think it's very strange for an animal not to eat meat. I'm veg.
Yes,
I know. And I also I'm a huge yoga person. I absolutely, and if it's for your women viewers, then it's something that I mean, not that it's not right for men, it is right for men, but I don't think there's a better way to center yourself, be physically strong, be flexible, and be all those things, balanced, than yoga. I don't think there's anything that does that better, and I would recommend it to any woman who is looking for a change in not just her body, but perspective and thinking and everything.
Okay,
I'm unavailable.
You're unavailable?